And then next, we're talking about joining a community of mindful people. Here I'll tell a quick story that hopefully help you understand why I think this is so important. Why I do not think that we can effectively be mindfulness practitioners in this crazy world by ourselves. Why you're never going to hear me advise going up into a cave in the Himalayas and sitting by yourself for a really long time. Even though I've done things like that, I was a monk in the tradition of the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. I spent 6 or 7 years living in monasteries and practice centers. So I've tried some of that kind of practice. And I'm going to tell you, practicing the way we are right now as an integrated community is better. So here's a funny story that I'll help explain. So this was many years ago. I had just started going to the monasteries in the tradition of Thich Nhat Hanh. For those of you who aren't familiar with him, think of as the Dalai Lama is to Tibet, so Thich Nhat Hanh was, when he was alive, he passed away recently, to Vietnam, like the premier Buddhist teacher in Vietnam. So he has monasteries all over the world. I'm from New York City. I was visiting a monastery upstate, but I went for a long time. I went for like a week or two. And when I came back, my cupboards were bare, right? Because I knew I was going to be away. And I made the mistake of going to the supermarket on a Sunday evening in Brooklyn and New York City. Oh boy, in this very vulnerable, very open state, I had just spent a lot of time in silence, a lot of time in mindfulness, a lot of time in very deep reflection, walking alone in the woods. My heart was just an open book in that moment. And so the supermarket, no surprise, was completely insane. Like just crowded. I felt like everybody was angry. And I very quickly got overwhelmed. And so I grabbed a few things and I got on this line that was so long, it kind of snaked through a couple of aisles, you know, one of those. And now looking back on it, I didn't have this language for that then, but I was having a little bit of a panic attack. Right? Going back to the volume was getting way too high and I was getting very uncomfortable and feeling nervous. My breathing was shallow. I didn't know what to do. And maybe because I had just come back from such a supportive and integrated place, the way monasteries are run in such a family style, even deeper than the word community, I would use the word family. Maybe because the supermarket I was in was a co-op, a very old co-op, so I was a member and knew a lot of people there. But whatever the reason, I felt comfortable enough to just turn around and face the woman behind me. And I just said out loud in the hopes that it would make me feel better. Like, hey, I just want to say this out loud. I just got back from a Buddhist monastery and the intensity in this place is kind of freaking me out right now. And in classic New York City style, this Brooklyn resident didn't miss a beat. And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, well, are you doing what the monks and nuns taught you? Are you following your breathing? And I thanked her. And I turned around and I put my hands back on my cart and I just came home as we did at the beginning of our time. Tonight I just started following my breathing. And it helped. And it helped. Didn't make all those feelings go away, right? Let's not mistake that. But it created a little bit more space between my experience of them and any story about some tremendous action or reaction that I needed to take. It was a way to practice resilience. Community does this for us, right? When we are at our lowest, that's when our community helps us the most. And when we are at our highest, our community is there to help us celebrate. Either way, they're always orienting us, if we choose them well, if they are a community of mindfulness, as we are here right now, they are always orienting us back to our practice, back to ourselves, back home.